Hey guys, in this video I'll be using the Do-335 and showing you my games along with what's so good with this strike aircraft. Not only is this plane great at being cast, but it's also even better in the air. This version of the aircraft I'll be using is the 5.7 Premium found in rank 4. To start off my first game, I decided to pick off these two bombers just so I don't have to deal with them later. As I find myself to be at a disadvantage to this Bearcat, I decide to force a head-on. However, at the last second he decides to pull off and try to dodge my bullets. However, I do score some hits here. Since I got some hits on this Bearcat, I thought I'd be a little bit more maneuverable than this Bearcat. But this is not the case because my biggest weakness is turning. When it comes to turning, this thing is an absolute brick. So you don't want to find yourself in a dogfight with this thing. Since this Bearcat seems a little bit more maneuverable than me, I decide to use one of my superpowers and just run away, because at this BR nothing can really catch me. A little bit later, after I outran that Bearcat, I find this Wyvern stall climbing for one of my teammates, so I decide to pick him off right here. After that kill, I see this AD4 and decide to roll over him and get on his 6, just so it's easier for me to kill him. As you can see, he's hyper focused on taking out ground targets and doesn't even know I'm here until it's way too late. Before taking out this P-51, I make sure that this Wyvern isn't going to dive on me as I'm taking out his teammate. A little bit later, this Wyvern decides to go back to base and J out, which gives me my first ace in this video. What makes this plane so good is that it gets an air spawn at 5.7 and it's also really fast, so I get to climb over pretty much anybody I want and pick out who I want to dive on. I decided to go for this P-51 since he doesn't really have any teammates around to help him, which makes it easier for me to kill him. When this P-51 sees me, it's a little bit too late for him, and he starts to panic and do anything in his power to keep himself alive. However, that doesn't go so well for him. Then I see this F4U which is perfectly turning, so I just take him out here too. As I look behind me, there's a F4U trying to catch me, but I'm just going way too fast for him. I decide to turn around because I see that this F4U is no longer chasing me. As I'm getting closer to this F4U, he actually sees me, and he decides to pitch down. This makes it harder for me to hit him, and it works out in his favor because I end up not hitting him. As I dive into this furball, I'm deciding on who would be the easiest target. Since I have so much energy, I decide to go straight up and use it to my advantage and get above this Yak 9 UT and go for another head-on. As you can see here, I'm entering another head-on, but however this F4U makes the mistake of turning off before his shots actually land, so I just get another easy kill there. As you can see here, I get a fire on this P-51, but my entire team is pretty much on him, so I just get an assist. As I enter another reckless head-on, I actually get severely damaged here, along with me setting the enemy on fire. Still, he manages to pull in and actually almost get some shots on me, but however I just pitch my nose down, and I end up smoothly landing to end this game. To start off my 9 kill game, I decided to go after the bombers because usually those are the last thing I need to kill at the end of every single game I play with this thing. I end up not going for this B-26 because his back turrets can do some serious damage to me. Since I failed to kill this F-82 on the first run, he'll become more of a problem later in the match. However, in this point in time, I don't really think much of it, so I just decided to dive on this C-fire, to then completely miss all my shots. As you can see, the F-82 is still chasing me after that little head-on earlier. So I decide to run away and try and kill this Bearcat that's way below me, and hoping that they will leave me alone. I end up missing all my shots, but however it doesn't matter because he ends up crashing into the ground. As you can see, the F-82 is still chasing me, so I decide to turn in, but I'm compressing. What I do next here is probably something you wouldn't want to do in this plane. As you can see here, this F-82 is hyper focused on me, and I'm very lucky to be alive right now. I probably shouldn't have pulled this move on him, but somehow it worked because I used my flaps to slow down and get on his 6. This Spitfire made the mistake of turning down onto my level, which led him to a very fiery death. After taking out the Seafire's wing, he lands some really lucky shots, which gives me an oil leak, which is really not cool. This J2M forces me into a head-on because if I don't kill him now, he'll end up on my 6 and actually kill me. After getting chased by this Spitfire, I perfectly time it to where he has to turn around for my teammate, which gives me the opportunity to take him out right here. Just right before going back to base, I see that this Yak 9P needs to be finished off, so I do that and I head back to base. After repairing for my airfield, I decide to turn around before this Bearcat's completely on my 6. Knowing that this guy is the last fighter of their team, I decide to pitch up and hope that some of my shots hit or he pitches down and gives me a head-on. Thankfully, he does just that. And now for this final kill, which is this bomber, gives me my 9th kill. Even though it was a 9-kill game, I could have had more kills if these two bombers didn't jail at their airfield, which made me kinda upset. If you made it this far into the video, I thank you for watching. Comment down what you would like to see me play next. See you guys later.